Hi, Scott here again in the Lifestyle Kitchen. Today we're doing a little skewered cocktail type finger food, which is basically cocktail tomatoes with bocconcini. Now bocconcini translates as basically little mouthfuls, and if you don't know what bocconcini are, they're actually little mozzarella balls. So basically you buy them in a container that has whey on them. And these are the little balls here of bocconcini. So if it's really nice and fresh, they should be nice and springy, which these ones are. So basically, if you like mozzarella, then you're probably going to like bocconcini. So you can just use them like that as a whole piece. They can be cut in half, just gently using a sharp knife. And as you can see, they're quite dense inside as well. So great just as an antipasto on a platter with other ingredients, or in today's dish that we're actually going to use them with. Now first I want to talk about roasting peppers. So wonderful fresh red pepper, which we want to roast in the oven and actually get a wee bit more sweeter. So using some olive oil, we just want to drizzle some of that over the skin and then basically coat the rest of the pepper in the olive oil. This goes into a hot oven, 200 degrees Celsius, and it's going to roast until the skin gets nice and blistered, not completely black, but it will start to go black, and then we can actually take the skin off the pepper. So we're going to pop that in the oven. And this is what it turns out like. Basically when it's been roasted off, take it out, let it cool, then you can pull the skin off, the seeds come away, the stalk comes away, and we're left with very nice soft pieces of roasted red pepper, which we're going to use in our dish. So I'm going to prepare these by just cutting them into some chunks that I can use on the skewers. So they're nice and soft, they've released their natural sweetness. And all I'm doing there is just some of those bits that are a wee bit loose, just trimming those off. They'd be great going into a salad. And I'm just cutting them into more manageable pieces and then just turning them over on themselves so they're actually going to hold. And then as I said, we're using our bocconcini, so I've got a number of those in there. And then we need our cocktail tomatoes. So you've got a couple of options here. You can use them whole, and in that case you want to just use the ones that are smaller. Or if they were getting on the larger side, what we can do then is cut them in half. Now we've got a choice of using just good sized cocktail skewers, or these ones here which are readily available now, but a funny story goes along with these. Travelling in Australia a few years ago, and I saw these in a sort of a kitchen speciality shop. I thought, oh, I'll buy a few packs of these, because as you can see, the little bamboo skewers, little sort of tied bit at the top, quite different I thought at the time, and you know, didn't take any notice of the packaging. Got them back here to New Zealand to use, and read the packaging and read that they're actually made in New Zealand or available in New Zealand. So basically it's a New Zealand person who's importing them from China and then distributing them further. So they're actually based company here in New Zealand, but I had to pick them up in Australia. So with our bocconcini and our tomato, we'll take a couple more of these out. And we're going to cut them in half. I'm going to bring my presentation plate over now so I can put these straight onto the plate as I do them. So again, it's as simple as taking your cocktail sticks and threading on the items. And then finishing with one of the tomatoes. Or as I said, if you've got the larger tomatoes, you can still just do exactly the same with them. And another trick to do with these is you can actually just do individual ones, just the bocconcini and the tomato, which are quite nice as well. But we'll do another one of the whole cocktail tomatoes with these wonderful roasted peppers. And we'll finish off with one of the other ones since we've got enough to do that as well. And if you're doing something with these, you could actually have a quantity of your sticks, and you could actually just put a quantity of your bocconcini and your little cocktail tomatoes and the peppers, and people could actually then start making their own little skewers as well. But there's another really quick and easy cocktail finger food, especially if you're into that Italian style. When fresh basil becomes available, you could layer a leaf of fresh basil in between each one of those as well, and put them on a nice platter, and away you go. So enjoy that one. You've been watching Scott in the Lifestyle Kitchen. Hi, Scott here again in the Lifestyle Kitchen. Today we're going to make a little pastry item. It's basically ham, Gruyere and mustard that's combined and actually put inside a little pastry case. Now what I'm actually using to make them is this basically little tool, for a better term. So what we do is we actually put our pastry on top and we fold it over and crimp it, and it forms a little pastry. Now I've had these for quite a few years. I haven't seen them readily available again, but it wouldn't surprise me if places like Briscoe's, the Warehouse, or any of those might have them. If you can't get these to actually make the dish, then I'll give you a technique you can make them your own way. So what we need to do first is make our filling. So into our bowl we've got some Gruyere cheese. Now Gruyere cheese is the ideal one to use for this. It's got that sort of rubbery texture, if you know Gruyere cheese, or if you remember the cartoons, it's basically the Swiss cheese with the holes in it. So that's our Gruyere cheese. You could use a normal tasty or a mild, but I find the Gruyere's got a much more nicer flavour. We need the diced ham. Now you could use bacon if you wanted to, but I've just used some supermarket ham steaks and just diced them up myself, or buy some shaved ham and cut those up as well. So we want to mix those together. Seasoning, wee bit of black pepper and just a wee pinch of salt, and then we need to add our mustard. Now I'm using a Dijon mustard, and you want quite a generous sort of couple of dollops of that. If you're not a huge fan of mustard, then just don't put as much in. But what the mustard is doing is actually helping to bind the cheese and the ham together, but also adding that flavour. So we need to mix that again and combine that mustard into the mixture. Right, so there's our mixture ready. So on to the actual pastry shape themselves. So again, I'm using store-bought flaky pastry. So we've got our little tool here. On goes our pastry on top. Just ease that down, and then you're going to take a spoonful of your mixture and sit that in the middle. Then we need some water. So you're just going to wet the edge of the pastry, and that's going to actually help the two edges stick together. Now if you were doing these at home, what I'd suggest you would do is cut a circle out of the pastry using a circular cutter, and then basically you've got two options. You could put your filling on top of the pastry and put another piece of pastry on top, so it would look a bit like a ravioli, or just put a smaller portion of the filling on one side and fold it over by hand, and then join the sides together. So what we do now is basically fold our little tool together. If you need to, you just need to press your filling down just on top, just to make sure it's all enclosed. Press that firmly, and then basically pull it apart. And then you just need to, last minute is to actually ease that bit of pastry off the side and ease out your pastry shape. So there it is, ready to go. Sometimes you might just need to push the edges together if they haven't quite sealed. These go on to a lightly greased tray, and we can place them on. We'll just do one here for the show. Nice little hole in the top, and that's actually going to let the actual steam out and release it. And then this is just a beaten egg that's going to basically help us glaze the finished dish. So brush the top with that beaten egg. And again, these will go into a hot oven, 200 to 210 degrees, and you're going to bake those. The pastry will go nice and crisp, and the filling will actually start to melt, of course, that Gruyere cheese. So let's pop this in the oven. So here they are when they come out of the oven, nicely glazed. So these make a really nice, light little starter as sort of an entree, or again, if you've got friends coming around for drinks, they're quite a substantial snack for having a drink. And again, you can make them ahead of time, keep them in the fridge for a few hours, and then put them into the oven just before you need to bake them off, and they'll only take around about 15 minutes.